Hello, everybody, and welcome to the newest episode of Picture Perfect. I'm your host, Bobby Gross, and this is a big episode this week. I'm so happy to have my guest on, Chance Ellison from the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. Dude, welcome to the show. So happy to have you on.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Yes, of course. And then you also have your podcast too, Notorious by Chance.
Yeah.
How's that going for you right now?
It's going really well. I mean, we're in the summer. We have our anniversary series going. That's all year. This is a blockbuster summer. We're this month we're doing a '90s blockbuster that got pushed back to next week because we're trying to secure a guest for Jurassic Park. But in order to supplement that, this morning actually, we dropped an episode on the Fast and the Furious.
Awesome.
We need a quick sub, and we thought, you know what, let's start there. Let's be a little thematic, and that was a fun show. Just to go and break down that movie because, wow, it's come a long way.
Yeah, the first one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's crazy because next week we'll also be reviewing the newest F9 with JTE is coming on the show.
Oh, nice.
And I really haven't been watching any of the Fast movies before, so I just started watching the franchise, and boy,
I think I watched them all before 6 came out or 7. I watched them all at one point.
Yeah, because 5 was like it kind of rejuvenated the franchise. It took it into a whole new level.
5 was the game changer, and that's still the best movie in that franchise. But
and your podcast, it's available on YouTube and everywhere.
It's not on YouTube. We have it on YouTube channel where we do other content.
Okay,
we've been a little cold on that lately just because I've been really busy. But we have our YouTube is basically for our exclusive video content. Our podcasts are exclusively audio. And now wherever podcasts are found, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, which is our distributor, all that good stuff. And yeah, anywhere podcasts are found, you can find Notorious by Chance.
Yeah, all those links will be in the description. I'll put them in the description just so you guys can check it out. And really what I was worried about, because I've been trying to book guests like a month in advance just to give them enough time, because specifically with you guys in the Schmoedown, I know it's so crazy with the shoot schedule and the studying. So just for people that aren't really familiar with the Movie Trivia Schmoedown, how would you pitch the show? Because I've been watching for at least 6 years now, almost like season 2 of the Schmoedown, and it's just been such a ride, and it's gone from a little studio show to this huge thing. And you've been such a big influence on the game. So just TLDR, what is the Movie Trivia Schmoedown?
It's the most intense movie trivia competition you will see on anywhere. I think it's basically a mix. It's the theatrics of WWE featuring the competitive nature of UFC. And yeah, it's really fun. You have all sorts of really cool, really fun personalities. There's storylines, there's factions. It's a whole to do, and it's really enjoyable.
Yeah, it's so much fun to watch. And you guys, I mean, the live events are coming back, which is great. I can't wait for that.
I'm really excited. I'm so excited to get back to touring.
Because I'm in Jersey right now, so I'll definitely be going to that October show, which, it's going to be so much fun. And even the Spectacular, I believe Christian just announced December 4th. It's December 6th, something like that. That Saturday, the first Saturday in December.
The
Schmoedown Spectacular. So fingers crossed I'll be flying out to that because I've never been to LA, but that's like the biggest show to go to. And I think it's going to be a wild time. And ironically enough, you're on the Stable Corruption, which my buddy Adam Collins is on. And man, he's a character. I've known him since the Manhattan show, ironically, from the Mark Ellis stand-up. We met there before he even got into the Schmoedown. And just to see how he's come in the Schmoedown, his run last year, and what you guys are doing on Corruption right now. And ironically enough, Adam Collins will be on the show next month, so stay tuned for that. But Chance, what we do on the show is we usually like to open it up with a couple of things that we've been watching, movies or television. I know with the Schmoedown, it's a little bit tricky because, competitors like to watch each other. If an opponent is on a show, they'll go and watch their opponent on a certain show, see if they're watching anything. So anything, I know if you have anything at all that you would like to disclose as what you've been watching, feel free to do so.
I mean, my letterbox is public, and I log most things I watch. I keep myself, but like anything I log them, I'm not uncomfortable saying I've been watching. So besides Fast and Furious, what was the last thing I loved? I can't remember. But yeah, watched The Sting recently. Hadn't revisited that in a while. I forgot how much I really love that movie. Best in Show is one I watched recently.
Robert Newman and or Paul Newman and Robert Redford. Classic movie. I've never watched it.
Oh, that movie's that. You know what? You should watch Butch Cassidy first, just because that was their first collab together, and then watch The Sting.
See, I actually recently watched Butch Cassidy for the first time, and I don't know. I appreciated it more than I liked it. Because I know a lot of people, like, that's one of the all-time classics. Like, AFI has it on their list, but just for some reason I thought it was a little too slow. But I love both actors. I mean, Robert Redford from All the President's Men, Paul Newman, The Hustler, like so many classic movies from these guys. That one I didn't dig, but I've been meaning to watch The Sting. That's like the all-time classic.
The Sting I personally like more than Butch Cassidy. Been watching. I do make time for TV, but mostly because like a lot of shows I watch right now weekly. Like I'm really digging Loki.
Oh my God, yeah.
Loki,
it's so much fun
right now. It really is. And I think it's getting to points a lot quicker than I anticipated. Then I realized, oh wait, yeah, there's only 6 episodes as opposed to like what they opposed to like 13 or 10 or whatever. So I'm like, okay, so like it's moving, which I really appreciate.
The thing that I'm worried about with Loki is because I feel like with WandaVision, it started so strong. It was completely different from all the Marvel stuff that we had seen before. It's just a different kind of formula from what the movies are. But then towards the end, it kind of got Marvel-y for me. Like it just kind of just fit into what we've typically seen. I just hope that doesn't happen with Loki.
Well, I think a problem with just TV in general is that it's hard to end a season. Like for a lot of television shows, the finale of the show it's not very often that it's the best episode of the show.
Mm-hmm.
Like WandaVision ran into the problem where the finale felt kind of flat, even though I enjoyed it. Yeah. Falcon Winter Soldier definitely had that problem where the ending was not as good as the lead up, even though there are parts of the ending I do like and do like the show as a whole. Yeah. Ending felt a little flat, but I do hope Loki sticks the landing because Marvel shows yet to do that.
Yeah, and hopefully in the building plans right now, I don't know, maybe we'll do a special episode for Loki to wrap things up. But the thing that you made a great point with the finales of these shows is because personally, I mean, I wouldn't put it past Kevin Feige to have these plans to where if these shows actually are one season or they're multiple seasons, because for Falcon and Winter Soldier, I felt like, yes, definitely, I would totally see a season 2 for that. Because it ends,
but that's why they're doing the movie, like they're doing another Captain America movie after the show. So
that's true.
That's going to be the continuation of that. There are certain shows that I think are kind of tailor made to be one season, like WandaVision, probably better season one season. Loki, depending on where it ends off, could continue in a second season if they really wanted to.
And especially because I think they didn't put out specific numbers, but they did say like the first episode of Loki was the highest viewed of all of the Marvel shows, which kind of makes sense.
I mean, it makes sense because of the characters that got in the show so far. He's easily the biggest draw.
Yeah, and it's definitely, I would be curious. I mean, they would never say the numbers from the first episode to the second episode, but that first one is just so subversive. Kind of like the first episode of WandaVision, you either have to buy in immediately or you're kind of out. And especially for the casual MCU fan, how would they react to that first episode to where, okay, we saw Loki die in Endgame, or Infinity War, but it's like he's back, but there's also a vision in Endgame. Is this the Endgame? Like the timeline is a little tricky if you're not fully paying attention to it.
Exactly, but I feel like they built up that equity and they built up that goodwill to the point where they can take massive swings like this and almost like not they take massive swings and not worry about casual fans because like they built their core so strong, they put the foundation so strong, and they're basically at a point where they can do anything.
Yeah,
if you really think about it, you look at some of the things they got lined up, freaking Shang-Chi, Eternals, like all these other weirdos who are getting movies.
It's getting so big right now.
Oh yeah, and I really applaud. Like some of my favorite Marvel movies are where they flex their I can do whatever I want muscles. Like Guardians of the Galaxy, I think is one of the best comic movies of all time. I love that film. I think Ant-Man, the Ant-Man are like super weird, super fun.
Yeah.
I think Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness looks really exciting just because it could be like really like weird and strange. I think that, you know, people talk about comic fatigue all the time. I think that if we keep getting things that are new and different and like exciting in that way, I don't think that's a factor. I think Marvel's finding a way to do that both on and the big screen and on streaming.
Yeah, I think it's all about the balance because I
Yeah.
feel like with the DC stuff, it's just so out there. Like it seems like every movie is kind of like its own thing. Marvel
Yeah.
sometimes those movies and towards the end of the television shows so far, it kind of follows a formula, but it's different enough to where you can pick things out that are different from anything that from a Guardians movie. It's going to be different from an Ant-Man movie. An Ant-Man movie is going to be different from a Captain America movie. So yeah, and then we have Black Widow in a few weeks, and I'm wondering what the balance is there because it's a prequel, but I mean, I'm not watching a lot of the trailers because I don't want to know what's going on with the plot, but it seems like this is going to be the swan song for Natasha. But then we have her sister played by Florence Pugh. Does she enter the universe now as the Black Widow replacement?
She's slated to come back somewhere. I forgot where, but I think she's slated to come back in the Hawkeye show.
Okay.
So she's like they want her to be a bigger part of that universe and like get kind of like Yelena Belova in the comics, where she, after Natasha Romanoff died, she filled in the Black Widow mantle. So I think they're trying to, they're really trying to lay a foundation for like the future of this franchise. Kind of like when you like, I don't know if you're into sports at all, like when you
for sure.
Yeah, like when you draft like young talent, even though you have like say when like the Packers drafted Aaron Rodgers, like they still have Brett Favre, but you're grooming Rodgers for the future, and now, well, then the future's in a little bit of, we don't know where that future's going. But
they did the same thing with Rodgers to Favre. They drafted Jordan Love, and now there's a big tension there.
Yeah, and that's kind of deserved for a lot of reasons. But this ain't sports. This ain't sports talk. This is movie talk. But I do think that I think Marvel is finding a way to keep things fresh, keep things new, and yeah, Loki seems to be the latest in the line of interesting projects, and I'm really digging it so far.
Yeah, there's just so much MCU content this year because of all the backlog from last year. It's super exciting to be a Marvel fan.
I mean, in the back half of the year, we're getting, I want to say, like 4 movies in the span of like 5 months.
Yeah. And then What If, I think, is coming out.
What If, which I'm super excited about. That was one of the projects. I read that comic series growing up.
Oh, okay. And I was never a Marvel comic guy, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was more of a DC comic guy, but that was a series where I found it fascinating because that was stuff I thought about. I was like, oh yeah, what if this did happen again? It came out and then it was written. We found out what would have happened. So, and I also I was talking about a big animation fan. I think the animation for it looks like unlike anything I've seen before in the show or movie. So I'm digging it.
And I think it's also going to have like Chadwick's last performance too, right?
That is his last performance as Black Panther, and probably in general.
That's gonna be super emotional for sure. But yeah, digging Loki too, and just a couple of things that I wanted to mention that I've been watching. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the show, Chance. It's called Hacks. It's on.
I've heard, the one with a Jean
Smart.
Jean Smart, yeah, I've heard of it. I've heard it's really great. I haven't gotten a chance to watch it.
She's having a hell of a summer on HBO Max because she was just in Mayor of Easttown as well. And she was great in that. And this is more of her show. It's about a female comedian that's been doing Vegas for decades, and she's kind of in a rut creatively. So she brings in this young, like, female stand-up writer, and they're clashing.
So basically late night.
Essentially, yeah. And it's funny too because like this young one was canceled for a tweet that she sent out, so she's frustrated with it. So it's very much of the time with
that's funny.
Like putting stuff out into the internet, and like you say one bad thing, and sometimes like your career is just put on hold for a long time. And it's just like a super funny show. Jean Smart is amazing. Yeah, I would definitely recommend this. The whole season is out right now. I'm I watched the first 2 episodes, and it's really, really good. So definitely anybody listening that loves Jean Smart, like she's been a character actress for so long that
she's been on TV forever, and I've always enjoyed Jean Smart. She popped up in anything.
And she's never really been like a lead, so it's refreshing that now. I mean, she's older, but it's kind of like she's finally having her moment. It's just a super well done show, and I wouldn't be surprised if this like gets a some awards recognition next year. It's just a really, really good show. That's Hacks on HBO Max. And you brought up the Sting, Chance. I watched a older movie for the first time this past week called High Noon. Which
you never seen High Noon?
Never saw High Noon. 1952, Gary Cooper, Grace Kelly. One of the ones, again, like one on the AFI list, top 100. I've been trying to crush these things because I, like you, Chance, I actually follow you on Letterboxd. I'm a huge Letterboxd guy. I like almost to the point of addiction. I don't know if you feel that way. Like, it's like,
it took me a bit to get into it, but as soon as I did, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is it for me.
It's just like it's satisfying when you log a movie and you're like, logged it. Don't have to do that again. Like just filling out the list, because there's so many lists on Letterboxd too that you just want to like get to that 100%. It feels so gratifying. But High Noon, I dug the movie. What I really appreciated was it's like all in real time, which is incredible for this time in 1952. Like you see, like it's a 90-minute movie, super short, old school Western, but it's funny because it's takes place all in like an hour and a half, like the movie, and you can see in the background to where the clocks are super accurate to where the time is in the movie compared to the time passing inside of the movie, which is super innovative. And it's just funny because apparently, I don't know if you knew this, Chance, but John Wayne had a problem with this movie when it came out. Like it was just he thought it was super un-American, which is, I don't really understand that criticism, because I mean, it's super masculine, because Gary Cooper basically plays this sheriff who marries Grace Kelly's character, and they're about to leave the town, but then this criminal gets out of jail and he wants to kill Gary Cooper's character, so he goes back to the town and there's a whole conflict there. It's just super honestly, I thought it was intriguing. It for a 90-minute movie, it's a little bit slow, but it's just crazy because then, John Wayne took such a hating to this movie. He called this like communist, and he went with like Howard Hawks, and they made Rio Bravo in response to this movie, which is another really good Western, kind of on par with High Noon though. But yeah, definitely, I watched it on Amazon Prime. It's on there. Really, really good stuff. One that if you're a Westerns person, I know Roke has probably seen this a million times, but definitely one of the cornerstone Westerns of cinema. So that's High Noon. That's on Amazon Prime. But now we're going to get into our review of Luca, which is the latest Pixar movie, unfortunately put right onto Disney Plus, which that's a whole different conversation. But the way we do this on the show is we'll have a non-spoiler and a spoiler section. So if you guys haven't seen the movie yet, definitely go into the description and check out the timestamps I put in there every single week just to skip to the spoilers if you just want to hear that. If you haven't seen it, definitely stay for the non-spoiler and then stay till the end, because we are doing a new game at the end. So you'll want to stay tuned for that. But Chance, you already said that you're a big animated guy, and I know that you competed in some Pixar exhibition matches. So you have a love for Pixar. So just tell me your background with Pixar, what your favorite ones are, and what were your expectations going into Luca this week?
I remember my first memory is watching a movie. We're watching like the Pixar films. I said it publicly a couple times, but like, yeah, I when I was younger, I watched Toy Story and Bugs Life so much that we used to wear out VHS tapes.
Back in the day of VHS tapes.
I used to wear out the tapes, so that my parents, my family would have to keep buying them. because I would keep watching them. Like if you go to my grandma's house, like you'll find like it'll leave like five or six copies of each like scattered around the house. So yeah, Pixar is something I've always found fascinating. I've always found animation fascinating. I'm also a big art guy.
Okay.
And that's art that you can that's moving art, and you can watch that. When it's done well, it can be excellent. Like and Pixar's shown that the first run of I want to say like 6-7 movies were all phenomenal.
Yeah,
like they didn't have a real dud till Cars 2 came out.
And I think recently they've kind of struggled with what their identity is, because there was a period there to where it was just sequel after sequel after sequel, and now they're starting to put out the back to the original concept movies.
Yeah, I mean, but again, like there's some of their sequels are actually quite good. Like any Toy Story, all the Toy Stories I think are excellent.
Yeah.
Gremlins 2 is good. I'm a bigger fan of Finding Dory than most. I'm not saying it's like excellent or anything. That's nowhere near the quality of the first Nemo, but I do enjoy that film. Cars can take a hike. But it's some of my favorites. Yeah, the Toy Stories. I love WALL-E. I think that is one of the most beautiful animated films I've seen in the last 20 years. I think that film is excellent.
Incredible.
What else was my favorites? WALL-E, Finding Nemo, which I've already said.
Coco, I think, is a phenomenal one. Like, just wow.
Yeah. I think Soul last year was my favorite movie of 2020. I think that film is maybe the most mature Pixar film. I think it tackles themes. It tackles themes that I've never seen Pixar. I've seen very few anime movies actually do. I'm like, wow. Like, and it's a thing that I watch, and I always leave with something. I love something different each time I watch. I've seen it a couple times, but yeah, that movie I think is excellent. Absolutely deserved best animated feature, even though I really dug Wolf Walkers quite a bit. But yeah, and I think that when Pixar hits, they're nearly unstoppable.
Yeah, and that's funny you bring up Soul, that it's like the most mature of the Pixar movies, because I found that Luca was probably one of the most kid-friendly movies since the Cars franchise. I felt like, in a sense, because it's a very basic plot. There's not much to it, which can be a good thing and a bad thing as well. Because I mean, we are 25 years into Pixar, probably more than that, close to 30.
Well, about 26, but yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, we have certain expectations for these movies now, because I mean, we've both grown up on these movies. We expect a certain kind of Pixar movie. So with Luca, I mean, it's a gorgeous movie, right? Like the
movie looks fantastic,
which is crazy, because when I was reading, most of this was animated in the quarantine. So I mean, these animators are working from home and still putting out this kind of work. It's just incredibly impressive, because
it's actually even said it in the end credits, where it's like done by Pixar and us in our slippers. They're in the Bay Area.
Yeah, it's just like, I mean, the dedication and that's what kind of sucks is, these people put in so many hours, and I can understand their frustration to where the last 2 Pixar movies have just been put up on Disney Plus without any kind of paywall. Like with Raya and The Last Dragon, you had to pay the $30 to watch it or go into the theater. So I can definitely see why they would be slighted by that, because everything, it's just so vibrant on the screen. And I think that's one of the reasons why I wasn't exactly enthralled by this movie. I really wish I could have seen it on the big screen, although I didn't have much of a problem with that with Soul, because Soul, I related more to it, because again, like that is the most, I can't believe that Pixar would make that kind of movie. It's just not at all, made for kids to buy toys of or anything like that. Like, this is an adult animated film, and I thought it just knocked it out of the park. So with Luca, I was let down, to be honest with you. I didn't connect with this movie as much. I wasn't as emotionally attached to this movie. Chance, what did you think about it? Just overall thoughts. What did you feel about it?
I actually really enjoyed it. I think that I don't think it's top tier Pixar. Like, Soul, I think it's top tier Pixar. I think this is like upper mid tier. I think this deserves to be in the conversation. Like, if we're doing a Pixar rank, it's probably somewhere around like the high teens. Not, I'm sorry. Well, low teens, I guess. We're going from 20 to 1
Yeah.
or whatever. But yeah, no, I do think that I think that it gets a lot of points for me for the animation. Like, I think this is some of the best background work I've seen in any Pixar film. I think this is right up there. It's up there with Soul. It's up there with Coco. As far as I think, like as a constant with their more recent film, I think the background work is getting consistently stronger, which is important. Which is important for animated films because
Yeah.
you want that tangibility. You want that. You want the place, the setting to feel like a character. I think that they do that here. Like Porto Rosa is, I think, as central to as much of a character to the plot as any of the actual main characters are. I think the idea itself. I mean, we've seen stuff like this before because like it's like when I saw it, especially like coming out and learning to walk. It's very much Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
That's what I thought of.
It's like a combination of Little Mermaid and Finding Nemo, I would say.
Little bit, yeah, but actually no, yeah, that's very with the parents, yeah, it does make a lot of sense. But
Yeah.
I do think that I'm not gonna put this up one of their best, but I do think it's a really really solid entry as far as the Pixar canon goes.
Yeah, and this is like it's kind of funny. It's a literal fish out of water story.
Yeah.
And I'm not a trailers guy, so I saw the poster and I was like, oh, okay, so is this kid like a half fish, half human? And that's pretty much what he is. But the thing is that I had a problem with. I'm Italian, right? I'm Italian American. I don't come from the country, so the way that I see it was, first of all, it was kind of disappointing that there was no major Italians voicing the major characters. And within the story itself, I was kind of confused because, when they go onto the land and they go into the town, like the other kids have an Italian accent, but then the little girl that they meet doesn't. So I didn't really get that. It doesn't do enough with the culture. Like I was expecting, okay, I knew that this was being based in Italy, so I was kind of expecting, the tribute to the culture, like Coco, right? Coco is just phenomenal because it opens you up to Mexican traditions and just the beauty in that. And with this one, there was just kind of disappointing stereotypes that I found. Like there's certain phrases that don't exist, but they threw in like different cheeses into the Italian cheeses into the phrases, and the race involved eating pasta. Like that's why I feel like it kind of was more of a kids movie, because kids would appreciate this kind of stuff. They would find these things funny. But as an adult, I'm like, well, you could have done more with this.
But I also think the whole difference of Coco is the fact that the setting's not, again, it's kind of good contradiction to what I said, but like this, I mean, they as far as the saying as a character in this story, it's not the story is not centered to the setting. If that makes any sense, like this could take place anywhere.
Yeah, that's one of my major problems with it too. It's like it's a good setting. And it lends itself to the animation, because I will say, like the town itself is so beautifully animated, and it's definitely what you've seen in previous Italian films. The way that it's just so intimate in that sense. A lot of people have compared this to like Call Me by Your Name, which
is fitting,
kind of in a sense, but it doesn't capture like what I would want from it. Doesn't capture the essence of like an Italian summer like that movie did. It's more of it's taking place in this town, and there's a race that kind of involves the Italian way, the Italian experience, but in the end it's mostly just a setting. It's not. I personally, I just don't feel like it is a character chance. I just
I mean, in a way that it's like it's a well-defined background.
Yeah, exactly.
It's well put together, it's well designed, and you do feel like you know this town.
Yeah, it's definitely familiar with other, even though it's set in an Italian town, it's very reminiscent of other small towns that you would see in other animated films. I definitely agree with you there. But I mean, besides being disappointed that there weren't really any Italian representation in the main cast, like the villain in this movie is actually an Italian voice actor, I believe, which was nice. But you have like Jacob Tremblay in this movie.
The showman not
Um,
Italian?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Jack Dylan Grazer, Emma Berman, Maya Rudolph, Jim Gaffigan. Those are basically like the top um, 5 characters in the movie, and none of them like aren't known for their heritage. If they are, I don't think they are Italian. But they don't. It's not like Coco where most of that cast is straight up Mexican American, so they can bring that realism to the voice acting. But it didn't connect with me in that sense. But although I will say the voice acting is still good in this movie,
Oh yeah, no.
I just wish that it was treated as with intimate detail as it was with like a film like Coco, which I'm just comparing it to Coco because it's a Pixar movie. It's another one. I can also compare it to something like Brave. Brave was similar to that, where it did have voice actors that were Scottish. And so I felt like in that sense, I wish that they put a little bit more attention to that detail into the film.
Fair, but I think that when you look at the director, who himself, I think is like genuine Italian. I think that's where I think he wanted. I think like you said, he didn't intend this to be like a big culture thing. I think he wanted to make this like kind of like an introductory thing, like for kids. Like this is like it's not supposed to be taken like with that seriousness, and also like it's not his focus. His focus on the movie clearly was the relationship between Luca and Alberto, which I do think is the heart of this film. I do think those two characters, they're really well written. They have great chemistry. I think those two actors do a really great job. And yeah, it's called by your name in that sense because of that bond between those two characters.
Mm-hmm. And it's I did like that chemistry, like you said. It's really really good between the two characters. I like their little adventures, and it was very funny. Like their dynamic was very funny. But I think what can be a blessing and a curse with this movie is it's very straightforward. I don't think there's much complexity to it as we've seen with other Pixars. The message is something that we've seen before, right? Be yourself, be confident in yourself. Don't worry about if you're accepted by other people, like just be yourself. And it's just like been there, done that for me. I wish there was a little bit more to it, but what did you think about like the one thing like really stick out to you in that sense?
Well, I think that I think boiling it down to just be yourself, I think is a little. I don't think that's quite. I think it's a little oversimplification because it's not just that. I think that like Luca is someone who he's like in the movie he's unsure of himself. It's kind of like he's unsure of himself. He's not sure where he's going. He's someone who like kind of like Ariel. Remember, he's someone who wants something more than what he's been given. And it's about him finding the courage to chase that. And I do like the line at the end of the movie in which someone says, there will be people who won't accept him, but he will find people who do."
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a really good way to convey this kind of message in which, like, I mean, yeah, being different isn't being like like I said, we've seen like be different or like the who's the real monster type of thing. But I think that this does it in a way in which it does make its point. And again, that one line really stuck out to me. I was like, damn, that's actually a really good way to phrase this. So,
and I've actually read. I didn't pick up on this in the film, but there's an interpretation of this movie. I don't know if you did pick up on this, Chance. There's an interpretation of an LGBTQ angle to it, to where
I did actually, yeah.
So Luca, kind of like being in the closet, but which would be the ocean, and then he comes out and he's himself. Yeah. I think that's one way to do it, although I did read that the director didn't intend it that way. So I think that, I mean, I don't listen, I'm a straight white guy. So that didn't come into my mind at all. It didn't even cross my mind. I was taking it for face value. But I definitely could appreciate the movie in that sense if that was an interpretation that other people have, because I think it definitely lends itself to it. It makes a lot of sense when you piece it together. Do you feel like that's the underlying message of this at all, even though the director says that wasn't his intent? Do you see that interpretation working for this movie?
I think it could work. Yeah, again, it's one that I'm like, oh yeah, it makes sense. It's not necessarily my interpretation, but I do think that it could, like, yeah, if you could put that to it, it does make a lot of sense. And you do see that with the relationship between, the two main boys, and how how it becomes, more complicated when the girl character, when Juliana enters the picture. I do think that you could definitely take that away, and I don't know if that was intentional or not. If it was, but either way, I do think that. Yeah, I mean, when I first heard about this movie, I thought like, oh, this is Call Me by Your Shape of Water.
Yeah.
But I do think that you could easily put that interpretation to it.
Yeah, I also heard Calamari by Your Name, which was a good one too.
Nice.
Um, yeah, this is unfortunately for me. I wish I enjoyed it more. Honestly, this isn't one that I'm gonna go back to. Honestly, it kind of falls into Brave territory for me. Honestly, like, I know people don't really like The Good Dinosaur. I kind of like The Good Dinosaur even better than this.
Ooh.
Which is a hot take. I know. It's because I had heard so many bad things about that movie, and I could definitely see why people wouldn't like it, because it's really dark. It's got a twisted sense of humor to it as well, but I kind of liked it for that purpose. So this isn't one that I would revisit necessarily, and that's kind of disappointing too, because I liked Raya and the Last Dragon more. But that's another one where it just didn't work for me, and I'm starting to question, Chance, would I be feeling different if I had seen this in the theater? Because I feel like, you know, especially animation these days, I mean, it's just so great. The attention to detail, the colors, it pops off of the screen. And, I have like a 55-inch TV in my house right now, but it's not the same. Experiencing it for the first time, like I did with, I'm going to keep going back to it, like Coco. Like Coco, you saw everything. The scope of that movie on the big screen was just immersive. And I feel like maybe I would have felt that way with this movie, because it's a smaller movie in a sense, but like you said before, the attention to detail, the background work is so elegant in this movie. I kind of wish that I had seen this in the theater.
Yeah, I mean, again, both this and solo movies, I would have seen day one in a theater if they were available. But yeah, and I do think that we see that problem with a lot of streaming movies, and most with like this, most thing HBO Max, like Godzilla vs King Kong especially, have this problem
Oh God,
in
yeah,
which they play much better on the big screen
yeah.
than they do at home.
That's another one I saw at home, but I'm not a big Godzilla fan, so it was fine to me. It still had the same problems as the other Godzilla movies, so but yeah, but at the same time, like, I'm thankful that the movie theater experience is back up and running, because
Right.
we're seeing movies, unfortunately,
And I think that
like,
had they known we were going to be in this state, because this was announced like a while back.
yeah.
And I think had they known the state we'd be in right now, they never would have pulled this from theaters.
I don't think so either, because at the same time too, with Black Widow, at least there's going to be a movie theater option there, but that's also going to be another one that's going to be available on Disney Plus.
Right.
And you have to wonder, especially with that one, like, what the box office business is going to be, because
Well, something else to take into account with that one is like international markets are doing really well right now. So,
yeah,
and that's a big saving grace for Marvel. So, I guess that's a big money making pit for Marvel. So, I do think that Black Widow, regardless, is going to do very well. And
yeah.
even people who don't want to see it, like that's one that, because like people went back and forth on whether or not they wanted to do it for anything else. Black Widow's one that people pay for without even thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely going to be there. I've been going every week for the past 3-4 weeks, and it's been incredible. And I would wonder like how this movie would do though. Like, would it be something like A Good Dinosaur where it kind of makes a little bit of money but doesn't justify the quality of it? Like, it just makes maybe, let's say, $20 million, which would be a disappointment. Or would it be like a Coco, which is probably 60. I don't remember exactly what it did, but it did a really good opening weekend. So maybe it's one of those things where Disney just didn't maybe they weren't even confident in this movie making money, that they were like, you know what, maybe it's just better to get the Disney Plus signups if, for whatever reason these families aren't already signed up. Would the cost of just putting it up there outweigh releasing it into theaters, and then it just doesn't make the kind of money that they would want?
It's possible. It's definitely possible, but I do think that I don't know why they have more faith in this when Pixar's consistently made money for them. I don't know why this would give them pause to have this, or so would give them more reason to have pause in something like a Mulan, which historically didn't make very much money for them.
No.
But that was exclusively on Plus, or something like, I mean, Cruella is doing well, but I think this still would have done better just because of the Pixar name. Because like that's the name people recognize.
Yeah.
So I think this would have made money. This definitely would have made money.
For sure. So, Chance, I mean, it seems like you like the movie much more than I did, which is unfortunate because, like, I feel so bad because I didn't really care for Cruella either. I did like that a little bit more than this one. But it's just like, I feel like Disney, just for me, Disney is just in a funk right now creatively for their movies. Like television, they're knocking it out of the park, right? Like we talked about Loki, all the Marvel shows. I gushed about the Mighty Ducks Game Changers, which is phenomenal. I just feel like there's a disconnect right now, where they're just in a rut creatively. Besides Soul, I can't really say that I've enjoyed a lot of the regular Disney live actions or the Disney animations to where I can say like, yeah, I'm definitely gonna, it's not like a Toy Story where I'm gonna rewatch these movies 20, 30 times right now. But you enjoyed it, and you're a Pixar guy. And I know because with the Schmoedown, this is something that you're probably going to revisit a lot of times too, if it ever comes up, right?
Probably.
So that's the non-spoiler section. We're going to get into spoilers, although I mean, I don't know if there's a lot of spoilers to talk about here, Chance. Like,
I mean, I do want to talk about some of the stuff with Luca and Alberto, like their relationship,
sure,
and just
go
the
for
plot of the movie. Because the biggest gut punch of the movie for me, at least, was when Alberto showed that he's a sea monster, and then Luca just straight turns his back on him, like, oh
yeah, that was kind of brutal.
That was absolutely brutal, because like Alberto was the dude who, like, he's the one that opened Luca up to the world. He's the one that showed them like, hey, the service world is fun, it's great. Like they have the relationship was so strong, and like I talked about how it got complicated when Julia entered the picture because like he felt like he was stealing Luca away. And like he talk about how Luca wanted to go to school, and that's when he like revealed himself. And then like he like sea monster, and Luca just like, and he's like, come on, Luca, shut up. And Luca just says, like, points him and says sea monster, and it's like, oh, like damn, that's brutal, and that's cold. Like you felt that one just because like their relationship was like their relationship was the crux of the entire film, and just to see him just like just turn his back on Alberto like that, it was hard. It was really hard. But I did like that scene after when he goes back to see him in the tower, like when he runs away and he goes back to see him in the tower, like that whole conversation. I think like again, like everything with Luke and Alberto, I absolutely loved.
Yeah, that relationship was so well fleshed out. Like you totally believe their friendship. I will say that the girl character of Julia, I think her name was.
I thought she was funny.
She was funny. I don't know if she was entirely necessary though, especially towards the end. It's like because Luca just races on his own anyway. So I mean, she kind of familiarizes.
Well, I mean, she's there to like kind of like get familiar with the setting. She's kind of like their gatekeeper, like they're way to get in the setting, and also for the ending, in which they've let Luca leave and they let him go to school, and like it's hard seeing him leave his parents, biggest like big like the Pixar tearjerker moment came when like he says goodbye to Alberto because he decided to stay behind, and it just like it's like that one is really powerful. How did I mention the score? The score for this movie is fantastic.
Which is funny because
they wanted Ennio Morricone to do it.
I was gonna say I read that.
Yeah, they wanted him to do it. He passed away before that could happen, which sucks because I would have loved this. I would have loved seeing Ennio. I got the guy who scored The Thing score this.
Oh my god! And the classic westerns, The Good and Bad and the Ugly. Like, come on, that's
Bad and the Ugly, Hateful
legend.
Eight, like, dude was stellar. I would love to see what he would have done here, but I think the guy that got instead, I don't remember his name because he's a dude. He's like a newer composer, and it's not someone I recognize. But I thought he did a fantastic job, and I love his orchestrations during like the swimming scene. Like Luke is finding his, when Luke is Belcher just swimming about, and like this like whole crescendo at the end when they say goodbye, when like he says bye. I thought that was immensely powerful, and yeah, I really was shocked they went that route, but I think that it was the perfect like place to lead this movie.
What did you think about the relationship between Luca and his parents? Because
I thought what they were going to do. I thought there was going to be a reason that she didn't want him to go to the service. We're going to find out that. I thought we were going to find out that like something happened to somebody, to member of their family. They never established that. They never show like what that was. So I thought, okay, that's a little strange, but whatever. But yeah, I thought that. I thought they were going to give a reason to that, which is why I'm like, okay, that fell a bit flat, but I still think that relationship with his parents, it's all classic overprotective mother and father story. Well, mother especially. The father couldn't care less.
Yeah,
which I like that because I like Jim Gaffigan. I think he's funny. But I think that him and his parents, the relationship I think could have been. They kind of like sacrificed that to have Luca on his own adventure for the bulk of the movie.
Yeah, it was undercooked. That's why I was, especially in the beginning where you start out in the water and you don't really get a sense of what is actually going on. Like with Finding Nemo, right? Like you get a sense of like, all right, the school.
Well, like they very much like in the first like 10 minutes they established the motivation of everybody. They established like why Marlin's so overprotective because he lost his wife and entire family to a barracuda. They established like that's why he's so protective of Nemo. That's why he doesn't trust anyone outside the anemone. They established like why he has such a hard time letting Nemo go to school because that's all he has. And I thought they were going to do that with like say like her brother or something, or like they had another kid who went and ventured out and got skewered. So yeah, I do wish that was an element they did introduce that would have brought a lot more punch to it.
Yeah,
and flush that a little bit more. But I think as it stands right now, it's fine. It's like a classic, like overprotective mother story.
Yeah. Do you know who voiced that uncle in that scene?
Sacha Baron Cohen.
So good. And I was like,
he was so funny.
That was like one of the funniest scenes I would say in the whole movie. I was dying.
Yeah. Which is why I love the brought back the post credit scene.
Yeah, it was. That's like one thing that I kind of wish they would have found a way to get him to the surface.
Just to see what he would have looked like.
Yes, because like you could see him underwater. You could see his inside. So I was like, what would that look like?
Yeah, because he's based on an anglerfish.
Yeah.
And so, like when he comes to surf, like, what can you see through his skin? What does he look like?
I really like that whole scene where they were like, "Yeah, we're sending you off with your uncle," and then Sacha Baron Cohen's just turning it up to like 200. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, like he's nearly unrecognizable. There are a few like verbal tics he had where like, "Oh, that is Sacha," but like, yeah, like, and if I didn't hear those, I didn't see the credits, I would never know that was Sacha Baron Cohen.
I was like, why does this sound familiar? And then I started piecing it together because actually in Sweeney Todd, he's in that movie and he has an Italian accent.
Oh, so yeah, that's right.
It was similar. So I was like, oh, and I had to look it up real quick because, if you're home, you can pull up IMDb real quick.
Yeah.
Like in the theater, you'd be an asshole for pulling out your phone. So I felt like Sacha Baron Cohen, as we lost Chance, hopefully he comes back. I'm just gonna stall for time, and here he is. He's back.
That was so. I don't know what happened. My browser just like shut off.
It's all good.
It just killed.
I did a great great job stalling. But yeah, I loved his character, and I just felt like the parents, like you said, it was undercooked. They didn't even like do a lot with Luca on the surface either. It was just like they were running around the town trying to find him. But that begs the question, like, why would you want to expose your kid as a sea monster? Like, because they kept dunking all these kids in the water.
Well, they weren't trying. They weren't. It wasn't necessarily to expose him. It was trying
to find him.
That because like they don't. Because I've thought about that. I was like, oh, you can go and hide that town. They wouldn't know what you look like because they've only seen you as a sea monster, and that was the whole crux of it because like they don't recognize him.
Right.
So that was going to be the only way for them to figure out it was their kid, and what they were counting on, at least this is what I'm putting to it. What they were counting on is once the town saw him for what he really was, they turn on him, and that would be like, okay, yeah, you don't forget the surface world. I'm just gonna stay down here.
I think it would have kind of been interesting if the parents found him and were the ones which would be the irony, right? Like they didn't want him to be exposed on the surface, but then when they find him, they're the ones who expose him, and then they have to deal with that. But I think that would have been maybe a little too heavy for this movie.
Again, I think the way that it happens with Alberto doing it, I think it's emotionally harder because Luke is making that choice.
Yeah,
and it's him making that choice to just like forget who he is and just betray the closest friend he's ever had in order to pursue something else.
Yeah, and the ending was a little bit rushed for me. I definitely understood what they were doing with it, but it was like I got it, right? But this is actually like a super short movie too. Like
it's surprising. I think it's like the shortest since the first Toy Story. It's not especially long.
I think so. Because I was looking, and again, because it's on Disney Plus, you can see how much time is left, and it wrapped up, and there was like 13 minutes left, and I guess this is a Disney Plus thing where there's like 3 or 4 minutes at the end of it where it's just a black screen and going through all different names for.
Well, yeah, because they include like the credits for like dubs and stuff.
Yeah. So I was kind of disappointed in that. I think this could have, a lot of times I feel like movies are way too long. I feel like this movie could have went like another 10, 15 minutes.
I would have been out for another couple minutes in this movie.
Because I just felt like the big thing with me was, I mean, it's a simple plot. That's one of my problems with it. I wish it was a little bit more complex in the plot wise, but I think the major thing was I just didn't really get a sense of the relationship with the parents. I wish it was a little bit more fleshed out. But yeah, I mean, I still listen, I didn't particularly like the movie. I'm in the minority because I mean, it's got like a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes, something like that. So it just wasn't for me, Chance. I know that you liked it, and it's lower tier for me. It's like Cars.
I've seen lower tier Pixar. This is nowhere near lower tier Pixar.
Again, like you're a Pixar guy, so I leave it up to you. I'm just like a dumb idiot. So
it's not high tier, but this is like I want to say like upper mid tier.
Yeah, I think I think I'm in the minority, so I would still recommend it. It's definitely it's up there. It's on Disney Plus, so it's definitely something that you put your kids in front of the TV and they'll have a good time with it. I was just disappointed with the overall direction of the movie, honestly. Which maybe this is one of the few situations to where if I saw a trailer, I would have expected something different from the movie that would have changed my opinion on the film. But for me, it didn't do it for me.
That's fair.
So yeah, guys, that wraps it up for the review. But what I came up with, so I was listening back to some of the episodes, and I'm like, you know what, something's missing here. And ironically enough, for the first episode of doing this game, we have a movie trivia Schmoedown player who is very familiar with a speed round. Thankfully, there's no actual trivia in this. It's basic movie questions. It's going to be 60 seconds, Chance. Just a range of movie experiences, this or that. It's just a fun little game to end the show. So whenever you're ready, you let me know.
All right, let's go.
All right. And the time starts now. Favorite movie snack?
Popcorn.
Star Wars or Marvel?
Star Wars.
James Bond or Mission Impossible?
Mission Impossible.
Favorite movie drink?
Cherry Coke.
If you could see one movie for the first time again, what would it be?
Star Wars: A New Hope, but in a theater.
Comedies or dramas?
Drama.
Seat in the front, middle, or back of the theater?
Middle.
Physical media or digital movies?
Physical.
Lights on or off when watching movies at home?
Depends on what movie, but usually off.
Scarlett Johansson or Emma Stone?
Scarlett Johansson.
Jim Carrey or Adam Sandler?
Jim Carrey.
Batman or Superman?
Batman.
Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter?
Harry Potter.
DiCaprio or Pitt?
Pitt.
Time is up. Wow. Look at the experience in the speed round, Chance. You crushed it.
Yeah.
Crushed it. So I just want to thank you again, Chance, for being on the show. And please take your time. Tell everyone where they can find you, what you got going on. Let everybody know.
Yeah, Twitter, Instagram, Chance _91. Check out Notorious by Chance, wherever podcasts are found. Like I said, that our next one, our real recent episode is up right now. Like I said, that's all Fast and Furious, wherever podcasts are found. Next week we're doing Jurassic Park. Gonna have a great guest for that one. And yeah, find me the Choice by Chance on YouTube and the Schmoedown. My match with Lon Harris dropped yesterday, so
which will be technically last Friday.
Yeah, depending on the publishers, I'm not sure, but that's where you can find me.
Well, I appreciate it, Chance. Thank you for coming on. And just some plugs for the show. I made the decision. The YouTube premieres on Tuesday nights are going to be permanent going forward. So this video will premiere on Tuesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern time. Chance is on the West Coast, so that is 5 o'clock Pacific. You can check the podcast out on all major streaming platforms, Apple, Spotify. I'm also on Anchor. There's our distributor for the show. Twitter at PIC PERFECT CAST. Next week, big show on the horizon. I announced this earlier in the first episode, I believe, of the relaunch. JTE, Josh Tapia, is coming on the show for Fast 9 next week, along with my buddy Brandon Freeman. He's going to be on the show. I've got some major guests booked for July. Chance, I just want to thank you again for coming on the show. And anytime you want to come back, you let me know.
Thank you.
It was a good time.
Back, yes. Yeah, it was fun.
All right, guys. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.